His Excellency Mr. Abbas Ardekani, the Ambassador of Islamic Republic of Iran, and His Excellency Mr. Ahmed Gül, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Permanent Mission of Turkey to the United Nations here in Vienna. Welcome, gentlemen. I would like to start with you, Mr. Ardekani, Your Excellency. We know Iran has a 720-kilometer border with Afghanistan.
820.
780 kilometers?
No, 815.
815, oh. Wonderful, thank you very much. This is also to learn something about the reality. But anyhow, this is a very long border, let me put it like that, with Afghanistan, and you are totally experienced knowing what it is about to host so many Afghan people, because in the past, many have been going to Iran to look for workplaces, to work in the construction sector, but because of the sanctions situation in Iran is really difficult at the moment. And now this crisis is coming, of course, to a new stage. Many people will flee to Iran. And my point of view is, of course, how can you handle the situation, and what is especially the need for Iran to get also the support from Europe and other countries?
Thank you, Mr. Schneider, for inviting me. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be with you today to discuss, among other issues, the most important issue of the humanitarian crisis of Afghanistan, which has been the result of many facts, established facts, which I may elaborate more later on. But responding your pertinent question, as you have rightly mentioned, we have been during last 4 decades the host of more than 3 million Afghans. We have been hosting some other nationals of some other countries, but at least more than 3 millions of Afghan refugees have been our guests during the last 4 decades, and it has been done despite many economic and social problems that we have been facing with as a result of different difficulties like imposed war, unjust sanctions, and unilateral act of violence as others. We have been hosting them on a moral basis, and also in the light of our historical relationship with Afghanistan, our brothers and sisters. And when they are in a dire situation, we think that they are a part of our society. Just to give you an example regarding the humanitarian assistance, we have been rendering lots of humanitarian assistance to the peoples in need inside Afghanistan as well. I can report to you that after the tragic terrorist incident occurred in Kandahar and Kunduz by Daesh, which is another ramification of the current state of affairs in Afghanistan, we have been sent by now 9 huge packs of humanitarian aids, the 9th of which has been delivered, which was 25 tons of humanitarian goods and stuffs, from medical stuffs to foodstuffs and others. We have also been offering our assistance and readiness to transfer the humanitarian goods to deliver to the people in need in Afghanistan. So as we have some ports, through seaports, road, and the others, and even by air planes, we can transfer the humanitarian aids of the international communities, the Europeans, to be delivered to the people of Afghanistan who are facing with a miserable situation at this juncture. I am confident that nobody hesitates that the current critical situation in Afghanistan is the direct result of the U.S. intervention and its irresponsible withdrawal and with its allies. When they entered Afghanistan 20 years ago, they brought catastrophe. And when they withdrew, they left calamity for Afghans, and this is established fact which should be seriously taken into consideration. And as I mentioned, now we are facing with the rise of terrorist groups like Daesh, who knows nothing but killing innocent peoples and prayers. And this is a matter of grave concern, and I think everybody should be worried about, and we have been warning this time and again from the past, at least since some years ago. Coming to your question, the need, unfortunately, it's regrettable that out of the helps and assistance that we are receiving from the international organizations, the donors, while we are giving every assistance from educational to medical assistance to our brothers and sisters who are living with us in Iran, only 7% of it has been covered by the help of international organizations and the donors. Just as a case in point, we have offering to 700,000 of Afghans to study in our own schools. Tens of thousands of Afghans are studying in our universities. And the fact is that we cannot differentiate between the cost that we are paying for our own people and Afghans. It is being spent out of our regular budget, our normal cost, and that's the problem that we think at first juncture, my demand would be to increase the 7% to a little bit more. It's at least, I think, we have lots of things to say about this rate. The financial assistance is the first and foremost assistance that we are welcoming. The second one, I think, every equipment, tools that is necessary for the livelihood of the peoples, from education to medical tools and equipment to furthering more and creation of the jobs, which will be mostly welcome to work in that perspective. Just regarding the financial asset, may I refer to one point? The point that I'm highlighting the financial assistance is that as a result of the inhumane sanctions by the US, we have our assets, which amounted to tens of billions of euros in other foreign banks, have been frozen, and we have not been allowed even to use that money to buy vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine for Afghan refugees inside our countries. We have been demanding times and again through different channels to let us and allow us to use our own money to buy medical stuffs, COVID-19 vaccines for Afghan refugees, and it's more than a shame for some. The final point on the help and assistance, if I may elaborate, is about the framework of the help of the donors. Normally, it is being framed in the format of projects, mid-term or long-term projects. Certainly, it's a reasonable one in normal instances, but at emergency situations like the one that we are facing now, I think it may not be helpful to go through the projects, but rather to give the necessary needs and equipments directly to be used for the Afghan refugees. Thank you for the first question.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for giving us some insights about experience and needs of Iran.
Question to the whole panel. regarding engagement with the Taliban in future cooperation with that country. So please, I think we start with Mr. Ambassador, right?
Well, I think the first and foremost question is how to help Afghans to rebuild their society in a more stable fashion. As regards Iran, we have creating many platforms, tables, offering many tables. We have had last July an Afghan-led, Afghan-owned process in Tehran. All groups, including Taliban, were discussing with each other, including the former central government and the others. We are going to have the ministerial meetings of the foreign ministers of the all neighboring countries of Afghanistan next Wednesday in Tehran. And we have been saying time and again that the only solution for Afghan is an all-inclusive, stable Afghan-led, Afghan-owned process to rebuild their own society, and we have no capacity unless to help them achieve that goal. And this is how we look into the situation. But when it comes to the humanitarian needs, as Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Tajikistan mentioned, we are ready to work with anybody because the humanitarian consideration has no limit in terms of the political observations. At least if you go through the basic principles of humanitarian law, you will render your assistance to your enemies when you are in war. And that's a distinct point of, a different point. If I may touch just one point regarding the recent massive flow of migrants and refugees, because I should touch upon this as well. We have been witnessing a massive flow of migrants and refugees coming to Iran, many times more than the ordinary one. Unfortunately, this massive flow, while has been recognized and reaffirmed by Dr. Abdullah, has not well publicized here and worldwide for the specific reasons. And I understand this critical juncture has made lots of difficulties for Iran to be in a position to accept more. And this is a warning for everybody to think about it twice and revisit the policies like the ones that have been publicly announced by the Europeans recently, that they are not in a position to accept more Afghans. I think this creates more miserable situation for Afghan people. And since Iran has done beyond its fair share, I think it's time to revisit the issue and everybody fulfill its own shares and responsibility on the basis of fair share. Thank you.
What we would be interested so much is, what do you expect concretely about a partnership with your countries, especially from Europe? I think we need money, that we know, but what it is in addition. I think we all know money makes the world go round. We know that, but this is not what partnership really is about. Partnership is much more. What do you expect really that we could deliver for the next few years? Maybe 1 minute to everybody here on the podium, just to get some impression about this.
Yeah, maybe out of the important tool of money which everybody needs, especially because of the pandemic, we now need more money to have our economy recovered, everybody in the world. But as you refer to the EU-Iran partnership in times of migration and refugees, I understand there are some basic, if we can continue our dialogue, we are ready to continue our dialogue with the European Union and the European countries bilaterally and through Brussels. We should come to some basic common principles. I have touched upon some of them. As I mentioned, the newly publicly announced policy of the European is detrimental to the worsening situation of Afghan refugees, Afghan people in in the region. I think trying Europe to maintain the Afghan refugees around the region, while the countries of the region, all of them, have been facing with multifaceted challenges in one way or another, would not be a good point of departure. This is the first point. The second point, as I mentioned, when I'm saying, for example, the equipments, I'm saying that at the common interest of Iran and EU. Just look at the flow of drug trafficking. The final destination is Europe, and we are paying a lot in terms of human resources, in terms of financial assets, and many other social economic challenges we are facing to defeat the drug traffickers. And I hope I'm not right that the current situation and the new emerging situation would create more safe havens for the drug traffickers coming from Afghanistan. And this is the point that I think if you want to hear from me out of money, we need some equipments to control our borders at the joint interest. But in one sentence, we are ready and open to continue dialogue with European Union and the European countries to find some common basic principles on the basis of which we can define some projects, ideas, and plans.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We can conclude this discussion about Afghanistan. I would like to thank all the panelists for their contribution. Please give them a big applause. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.